Let's go!
This video comes courtesy of Hi-Fight. For anyone that doesn't know who Hi-Fight is, I encourage you to check him out on Twitter. He posts a huge amount of FGC clips and knowledge and a bunch of stuff. Very cool dude. And he's also made a ton of fighting game videos. He's obviously a big aficionado of Guilty Gear and Japanese fighting games. He directly translated the Japanese stream that is talking about each individual change and is showing off each one of those changes. So let's review this stuff. I'm going to sort of rate everything that I feel is going to really change the game or not really change the game, or we're just going to go one by one. So here's a big one. Here's something that keeps Guilty Gear almost more Guilty Gear-y than you possibly can. Movement and mobility. The way characters run, the way characters like can backdash, can double jump, the way they can move around in the air. Everything like that is universally still Guilty Gear. So there's not a lot to worry about there. The interesting thing is that there's no new stuff. This is still just the way that Guilty Gear is. So everything's gonna look fairly traditional at this point. Running forward builds you tension still, which makes sense. The biggest change is that you now can map dash to a button, but I really don't think this is anything worth talking about. I guess this is something, but not really worth a discussion. It's just kind of interesting. Maybe this will set up for something crazy. It's hard to say right now. So, Gatling Combination refers to chain combos. For anyone that is unfamiliar, the majority of anime games out there feature a thing called chain combos, which involve you powering up, going from a light attack to a eventual heavier attack, and just rapid firing them, and you can go from light to heavy, right? Guilty Gear's always had a unique chain combo system called Gatling, and it can be different for characters and stuff like that. And now it's completely changed. Like, they're saying it's totally different. I think the big one is that you can no longer go from light attacks to the general attack string. You can't go from a punch into a slash into a heavy slash. The punches are more used for checks, if not like rapid fires. Maybe punch into, it's more like a tool instead of like a combo. Maybe you can hit confirm punch into uppercut or something. I don't know, but that's a big difference. So you can't start off with your light attack and then go into something else. However, in Guilty Gear, you do have command normals, like forward heavy slash. You can do forward light punch, which is the anti-air with Saul. And that stuff can be chained into. So, in a game like this, that's a big difference. Meaning you can do like punch into crouching dust, like sweep, like a command normal. So the traditional chain combo system that Guilty Gear has might be a bit different. No more IAD punch times 5? I don't know, maybe. That's like instant jumping into this punch was a good way to lock the opponent down and prevent them from, getting out a reversal on you. So I don't know if that still works. I haven't really seen enough gameplay, but that's a pretty big change simply because, punch doesn't Gatling into 2D. Maybe, I guess, crouching kick does. Maybe 2K does? Okay, well, there you go. Some things even do. But not everything. And this immediately, my brain immediately goes, well, they don't want us to do light attacks into medium to heavy attacks anymore. They don't want us to hit confirm a light attack into heavier attacks. That immediately, what was the first fighting game to change that from the previous game? It was Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V was like, yo, we don't want you to be able to do this anymore. We don't want people to hit confirm off of like a crouching short or a 3-frame jab or yada, yada, yada. And now you're only allowed to do that if it's on counter hit, and I'm assuming that there's going to be very similar status in this game. So yeah, just showing off the fact that it's used as a check and more of a tool. Yeah, doing long combos with light attack starter is now gone. Yeah, the Octo's saying, well, I'm gonna be reading what Octo says because Octo was literally there as this was being shown off for the first time, and they were watching it for the first time. They were describing it as they don't want huge long combos off of a fast attack. And this is a beginning of de-emphasis of the traditional combo game that Guilty Gear has kind of been known for. So, in my opinion, that's a big change. That's a core fundamental thing in Guilty Gear that players have been used to for 20 years, for the most part, that it's hard to say how much, if this is going to be a negative impact or a positive impact, but it's definitely different, man. That's a big change. Yeah, the funny thing is Guilty Gear combos aren't normally that long. The weird thing is that like traditional Guilty Gear combos, like without meter, are very short, unless you have the corner. And even there's an emphasis on corner stuff in this game too. Okay, so what you're seeing here, throws in Guilty Gear have always been like close range proximity throws, like classic Street Fighter style, right? You don't press an attack button, like 2 attack buttons to throw a dude or a girl. You have to be close to them, proximity grab them, and then toss them in a specific direction. This led to situations in Guilty Gear where you couldn't pressure someone, you couldn't meaty somebody with close range normals because you could immediately grab them out of it. Throws in the previous Guilty Gear were like 1 frame, like Guilty Gear Xrd. You could grab people out of nearly anything, which is why a lot of pressure in Guilty Gear Xrd was about throwing out a special, YRCing, and then jumping over. So they're forced to block, and then you have to force them into a situation of okizeme. Okizeme is just, you have to make them guess where you're gonna go. So, this is huge. And the reason this is huge, let's just watch, because throws now have a whiffing animation. When you proximity throw someone in a fighting game, you don't have a whiff animation. However, starting with a game like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, when you threw somebody using the light punch and light kick attack, you try to grab them, and you actually have a whiff. This changes Guilty Gear a lot, and I'll try to describe why after you see it. So, there's the traditional throw, right? Makes sense. But now, since you have a throw whiff animation, this turns the game, this will naturally change the game a lot. Will throws do a lot of damage? Will throws like lead to RC situations where you can convert it to crazy damage? I don't know, maybe. However, if you end up throwing and whiffing, that changes the way the game is played. The other thing is that there's a big emphasis on counter hits in this game. I also like to say, we're not only in an age where a lot of fighting games are being simplified and a lot of games are being toned down from the previous one, we're in the brand new age of counter hits. There are so many fighting games right now that put huge emphasis, giant gameplay mechanics on a counter hit, which is kind of nuts to me. Like from Street Fighter to elements in Grand Blue Versus to Mortal Kombat 11 and now Guilty Gear, games just love counter hits. Like, they just love them. They're gonna lead to insane fucking damage. Like, Tekken 7, I'd argue, not even, because Tekken 7 counter hits act the way they normally do, right? And in Tekken 7, you identify that you got a counter hit, something might change property-wise, and then you have to respond quickly. You have to be fast with it. The same way in older fighting games, if you got the counter hit, you got good opportunities, but now, I got a counter hit. I can see through their body. You got a counter hit. There's a big counter thing over there. The game's gonna stop for 5 seconds. Get him! Like, I got a counter hit. I just chop with Urian. Bam! I hit him. I was just whipping buttons. Dash up, full fucking combo. Like, counter hits now are a huge part of fighting games. Like so much so they've always been a part of them. It's like saying footsies. Like, footsies and counter hits have been part of fighting games literally forever. But now they're turning this stuff into, like, the showcase, the counter hit, which is, I'm spitting a little. I might be spitting a little. It's crazy to me that everyone at the same time chose to do all the same stuff. It's crazy to me. So, throws on whiff, I'm assuming, this is not confirmed, will be counter hit state. So what happens in Guilty Gear if you run at a dude, and then you neutral jump, and then you bait their ass, they try to grab you, and you land a big ass counter hit, you just lost 60 to 70% of your life. And the reason that sounds familiar is, oh, that's just like Street Fighter V. Oh, that's very similar to some stuff in Mortal Kombat 11. I'm not gonna lie. Killer Instinct was one of the first fighting games to get big counter, like throw animations to have a lot of recovery. It didn't have a ton, but it had enough where you can dash up, bait throw, neutral jump, punish the shit out of them, and they would try to grab you after seeing you dash up. I swear, my entire win record, like, I was pretty good at the beginning of Street Fighter V when it was like in the beta. I'm like, oh my god, the close range neutral of this game is just like KI. Like, the way grabs are, you can just neutral jump the shit out of people. Was neutral jumping that good in Street Fighter 4? Hell no! Was it that good in KI? Hell yes. Because it was very similar. The way that shit worked was extremely similar. And now you're going to be introducing a close range neutral game that is kind of similar to that. Where the characters are, you're going to see some people trying to whiff throws and then going for the counter hit bait. Which in turn, just take the throw. But the question is, can you convert the throw to 50% damage? We don't know. We don't know. So, whiff throw animation, and the same thing goes for air throws. I'm really curious how air throws are. This isn't, my theory is that the whiffed throw state is going to lead you potentially in counter hit state. That's not confirmed. That's not confirmed. But considering the emphasis the game has on counter hits already, I'm just assuming that's what's going to happen. So, I'm just calling it like I'm seeing it, and it's similar to a few other fighting games. There's no downside to neutral jumping the throw attempt. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. Here's a big one. Instant block, also known as I-being. It does not stand for irritable bowel. I-being was essentially just defending. Instant blocking in Guilty Gear in the past would be sort of similar to how you would just defend in an SNK game, in Galro or Samurai Showdown. You'd be, if you press back at like the perfect time, or in this game if you press like FD at the perfect time, right as the attack hit you, shit, this is just like Smash Ultimate as well, which is with the parries, you would be given better frame advantage. It would actually change the frame data depending on what they hit you with and if you could do stuff. That's no longer the case. If you properly instant block something, you're not given better frame advantage anymore. This is in the game because a lot of approach options in Guilty Gear are kind of safe. Like a lot of tools they give characters are pretty good, which is why people like Guilty Gear. People like the fact that characters have some good shit. Like there's some degenerate shit in any fighting game where you give a lot of characters some really good shit. The game is going to be called degenerate because it's hard to get around. Like Saul, for example, uppercutting the fuck out of everyone or doing ground upper, like all that shit can people are going to complain about it for days. But the developers intentionally give the characters good tools. But they put in a system defensively that can get around that. So if you don't want to have to keep fucking blocking Fafnir for like the rest of your life, if you press back or if you faultless defense, if you did an instant block at the perfect time, you can get around that. It's no longer the case. Now instant block gives you more meter, more tension gauge. And that's a very weird decision. I cannot think of a good reason why they would change that. I don't know why they would change that. It wouldn't have a huge impact on the casual level of the game, because it's already something that very few people... You need to have a very good understanding of the game to be just like instant blocking / parrying things at like all times. So, right, I mean, it always gave tension, but you didn't instant block all the time for tension. You instant blocked to get around moves that were plus on block. You instant blocked to get around shit, right? As a longtime GG player, this is going to turn into an XX plus R versus sign situation. People need to breathe, see what the game has to offer, risk coming back the way it does, overall approach. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going to talk about once we absorb all this stuff. Because this doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to me. So, let's keep going. So this is another really big one. You're not going to have to spend your faultless defense, which costs your tension gauge, anymore on air approach. Like, the air is used a lot in Guilty Gear Xrd, like for almost every character. And to protect yourself in the air, you had to use meter. You had to faultless defense it. So that's no longer required. They essentially allowed you, or are now allowing you, to just block in the air. So if you just hold back while you're in the air, you're gonna block. I don't know if there's an advantage to FDing in the air anymore, but now the characters are allowed to just be in the air. I don't know how, the mobility of the game didn't change. Now you're allowed to be in the air more than ever, but that changes the way approach sort of works, right? Yeah, I did hear that you do build more risk if you do block in the air. So there is literal, an LOL, a risk to it. There is a situation where you probably shouldn't be doing that all the time. But I'm really curious how that's going to be for general defense. Like, if you want to block something, are you going to RC just to slow down time, and then just jump up back and just up back? I don't know. Like, this might change a little bit of the ways that approach might work. So that's an interesting change. But I think the verdict is out on this one. That doesn't feel inherently super weird to me, but it does seem like that'll definitely change the way some characters will have to sort of play the game. And considering the way everything else is sort of changing, I'm not really surprised. The interesting part is that it tends to jet you down to the ground really fast if you block an attack. This animation honestly reminds me of parrying in New Generation. Anyone ever land an air parry in Street Fighter 3 New Generation? In a game like Third Strike, you can jump in and you parry and you actually keep your forward momentum. Your character will parry and then you land and can possibly hit them. In New Generation, when they first introduced parrying, what happened when you parried in the air? Your character went doink and bounced backwards, and then you are like knocked back into an aerial state again. You don't fall to the ground, you're like just stuck there hovering. It's kind of a similar state here. It almost acted like a just defend in many ways, and it looks very similar to this. But to do this, you just hold back. So this is actually, I'm kind of okay with this one. It seems like they don't want you to use faultless defense on mobility stuff as much anymore, because this was something that I learned when I was approaching with Biken, that you had to when you were running in at people, because approaching with Biken was kind of weird unless you were air tatamying. Bitch is crazy hard to use. You had to run in and then faultless defense and then tap it, and your character would stop and you would defend. Because if you just ran, you would slide and be available to be hit. This is another similar neutral strategy that was in Smash 4. And in Smash 4, when you wanted to approach the opponent, you would dash forward and block, to sort of protect yourself, stop your character movement, and stuff like that. So they took that out, like dash shield to stop your movement. Now you can just block. I kind of want to see the way this animation plays out. It doesn't look like they go for the complete slide on this one. It kind of does. They sort of still go for the same slide. I guess the only thing about it that's really crazy is the fact that, well, it's only going to hurt certain characters. It's going to hurt characters that don't run. I think you can pinpoint who that's going to be. So only certain moves now can knock the opponent down. The amount of like hard knockdown Oki situations is probably going to change. Which is the de-emphasis of Oki. Yeah, Fafnir not sending them into the crazy flippin' shit, especially on even counter. Society. And I think that's fine. I think this is actually a good change. I think you choosing to end something with a specific hard knockdown move, maybe sacrificing a bit of potential damage for that you can get more damage, like the risk reward. You're taking a risk that, hey, I'm not going to do as much damage at the end of this combo. I'm going to choose to end it in like a sweep or whatever causes a hard knockdown, and then go for a mix-up of some kind. I don't mind that. I think this, in my opinion, is a good change. Because obviously you can see, you're auto-teching out of everything now. Like, you don't even have to worry about it. I don't know why they choose to highlight this. I mean, I guess not everything was OTG-able in Xrd. But it seemed like you can OTG off almost anything, so this seems like it's more par for course, so I wouldn't worry too much about OTG off of anything. But this is similar to their, you know, their whole risk reward thing where, hey, you're gonna knock him down. You can choose to get a little bit more damage, or you can sacrifice the fact that you don't get any kind of mix. Okay. Like fighting game stuff, that makes sense. Yeah, but that's true. The damage of this does seem to be pretty high. Oh my god! Oh my god! You know what I almost wonder? I almost wonder if... Let's see if we can slow this down. So right here, he hits him down, right? And then the tech happens. Saul still has to recover, and by the time Saul recovers, each character returns to neutral at the exact same point. Here's where some of, like, I'm curious. Here is where maybe some of the creativity of the mechanics of the game can kick in. If you do knockdown, and then you choose to do an OTG here, right? Bink. What if you RC'd right there? Can you explain OTG? OTG just means off the ground, like being able to hit an enemy off the ground. Oh god, chat, we're dropping frames. Sorry. Had a frog in my throat like all night. Ah! We dropped a few. We should be back though. We're back. What instead of OTG attacking, you could OTG RC? I don't know if you heard what I just said, Octo. But that was literally what I think. I don't know if you saw it. My prediction is after this attack right here, what if you just did this and then RC'd? And then as RC is going to slow them down, and that allows you, from this point, they're slowed down to run forward and get shit. That should, you literally had the thought at the same time I did. What if you just RC'd the OTG attack? So by the time they're falling back and they're obviously in a non-hittable recovery state, by the time they've recovered, maybe you can get mix for the cost of half your bar? RC right after the sweep? I don't know why you would want to, because you normally get mix off that anyway, right? Yeah, OTG means off the ground, chat. Means like someone's on the ground, you can still hit them. Maybe. Who knows? It doesn't... Yeah, RC has a hitbox, I know. But I mean, obviously, if they're that close and you're hitting them off the ground, it should work. Maybe. Maybe not. Using the RC as the OTG? That is true. RC pops them up. RC has like a hitbox now. Like, RC isn't just like a hit effect. No, it like hits them. And if they're hit, they go boink and they like sort of bounce up and shit. Interesting. Maybe there's some creative things you can throw in there. Yeah, when you knock your opponent down, you have to choose between doing an OTG or setup. That's about it. You're gonna have to make the opponent guess, or you can sacrifice the damage too. Yeah. No manual teching or ukemi after getting hit while airborne. I think some people will be more familiar with this in Dragon Ball. You know when you are being hit in Dragon Ball and the combo counter goes from like an orange to a blue, meaning that there was an opportunity for you to tech out of the combo, like the combo was not true. That's a Guilty Gear kind of thing, right? They're taking that out of the game now. It was called beat, right? Combos were called beats in Guilty Gear Xrd, and it was called black beat. The combo counter would change from orange to black or gray, and if it was a black beat combo, it was something that you could have gotten out of. So that's going away completely. Like the game auto techs for you in the air, which is weird. Yeah, and the weird part is that you could. It led to strategies like tech trapping. It led to high-level gameplay elements where you could. It would lead to interesting moments, is all I'm trying to say. And now, it's gone. It's just gone. So that's a very interesting decision that I don't know. Yeah, if anything, this makes it seem like resets would be big as ever. Like resetting, this game will be very reset heavy, which most fighting games end up being. The last thing you want is your opponent to be in control in any way. You want to remove all options from your opponent and as much control as possible so you can win. That's the way fighting games work. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. You can see it here. You may see how he immediately falls to the ground. In the previous game, he would just be stuck in a stun state, and you can just keep pressing jab. Yeah, the big question is, do you make a choice where to tech? Because that's one of the things in a game like Marvel Infinite fixes many of these issues. You can the ability for you to control your character after you flip out of something, that's how they prevent you from just getting mixed to death in most situations. And even in Dragon Ball, you can tech out of things in a huge variety of ways. So it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be very different, is what it is. Roman cancel. So this is like RC is arguably like the big mechanic for Guilty Gear. Like one of the things that allows you for a lot of creativity, and it literally is just a cancel. It just allows you to go from one move to another. And in Guilty Gear Xrd, arguably they overcomplicated the shit out of it. Like they made neutral Roman cancels called yellow RCs, late neutral Roman cancels called purple RCs, and they made anything that was on hit or block a red RC. It was terribly overcomplicated. Like, I mean, a lot of the high-level players don't like YRC, and I could see why. But I found it to be a lot of fun that you can. It was sort of degenerate. That's why I kind of find the degenerate shit fun, because it's a good thing that almost everyone can do that the game mechanically sets up for. So it seems like, oh, if I want to approach with this, I can throw out a projectile in YRC and mix your ass up. Like, it's something that generally worked for a lot of the cast. So now they stopped that. Like, and I agree that should. This is probably one of the best changes in my opinion. So let's see how it works, because it acts a lot different than the previous games. Yeah, it sends them, it actually like physically hits them. Did you see how it acted as a second hit to a combo? He does down dust, and then he cancels into a Roman cancel. A Roman cancel is what? Punch, kick, slash, I think it is in this one. So he just sweeps him, and this thing has like an area of effect now where you get hit by it and it slows the game down to allow you to combo. But look at how the effect happens. a clock will pop up behind Saul, and that's how much time you have. That's the amount of hit stun that has been engaged until it reaches the top and the character is going to recover. Very weird. It's a bit different, and it actually is like a physical hit. It's a physical attack. Before it was just like you just stop time around your character, and then it actually affected the entirety of the screen. This means that like the general, the traditional yellow Roman cancel of Guilty Gear Xrd, where you could like throw out a projectile from full screen and slow the opponent down for a very low meter cost, which was very good, doesn't exist anymore. They actually have to be in the bubble. And it looks like it's going to be even easier to combo from now, because they give you a ton of time, like even more time, so much time to take advantage of that. So, doing this in neutral is essentially like, this is essentially the same thing as like YRCing, because I from what I understand, you can still throw out like Gunflame and then Roman cancel and then go into stuff. So, it's not exactly like sparking. I mean, sorta. Imagine if sparking, you know how sparking has that animation you have to do, and it doesn't really stop the opponent, you can block the animation. It's kind of hard to tell how this is going to play out, but the whole system in general is very encouraged. Like, this is what the game kind of wants you to be using your meter on, is a variety of offense using the Roman cancel system. Opponent stays slowed down even after getting hit, so you can do a combo that isn't possibly normal. This means that if you wanted to actually combo off of your like rapid fire crouching punches, which you normally can't, you could now. If you are seated or something like that, maybe at higher level, you can turn your rapid fire light attack into something that, I don't know, will actually lead to good damage for the cost of meter. Hard to say. There are some more secrets behind the Roman cancel system that they don't want to reveal yet. There's another one too, which is Roman canceling on block, which is traditionally known as like a dead angle. Dead angle is a fancy way of saying alpha counter. So if you just want to spend meter to get people the hell off of you, reversing that while you're in block stun, you can hit them and then just push them off. So it seems that dead angle as a mechanic is like gone. And now you press the RC button during block to sort of push them off you. And I'm like, that's a good change. I think that's actually a great change. I think that simplifies something that was a bit too overcomplicated in the previous game. Complicated for the sake of being complicated, right? So this is now a mechanic that takes something from the previous game and melds it into the RC system. It's also taking the RC system, which was 3 different things that were very confusing, and putting them all under one blanket. This, in my opinion, the greatest thing they could have possibly done to Guilty Gear, and one of the most critical mechanics. You think it was easy for me to explain to Steve Simmons and Kenny, like, how RC works and stuff like that? It's not. Like, that shit was weird in Xrd for a lot of people to understand. So I think the RC system, good change. And the secret, I'm actually genuinely curious, like, what's that gonna be? And there's the dead angle, so it just pushes them off. It explains why instant block now gives meter to use guard Roman, maybe? I mean, maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's the whole point. Talk about the RC dash yet. Not yet. Is that actually shown in here? Is that, Octo, just describe to me what the secret is. Is it an RC dash? Like, what is it exactly? The RC system is sounding not what you thought it was like before. It was needlessly complicated. But like I said, I found YRC to be kind of fun. No, but it was actually in your matches. Oh, okay. If you have... What's up, Kevin? So when you RC, you can input a dash command. Alright, so you can like run them across the screen and then move during the slowdown. That makes sense. That seems like this system would even allow for it, because you can do whatever the hell you want. There's so much slowdown, you can do whatever the hell you want, right? So RC dash, is that... That just seems like another thing you can do during RC. Yeah, here, Octa, let me do this really quick. There you go. Take care of it. Dude, I found... Oh, YRC's degenerate as fuck, right? I mean, completely honest, YRC is super degenerate. Like, some stupid thing that's easy to do that doesn't cost a lot of meter, that's good for everybody. Almost everybody. Why do you think I like Marvel Infinite, man? Like, Marvel Infinite is like the most degenerate fighting game fucking ever. I mean, close to just being as degenerate as playing like Virgil or Doom in Marvel. But that's the whole point of Marvel. Why do you think Marvel vs. Capcom is so much fun? It's degenerate shit all over the place. It's shit that is like so obviously, why is this so good? A ton of characters have things that are just so good, so insanely good, they're fun to do. And what's the point? What's the challenge of the game? Not doing the stuff. The challenge is finding a way around it. The challenge is blocking it. The challenge is finding ways to avoid it, to keep your character away from the degenerate shit. Dude, Marvel Infinite is a degenerate funhouse. That's why I love it, man. That's why I love it. It's so much fun. I can do whatever the fuck I want with my characters. I can Vajra a Strider whenever I want, as long as I cover it with a tag. Let's go. It's fun. It's super fun. Let me check this out, Octo. I've had like a frog stuck in my throat this entire time, Chad. It's a pain and hurts. I'm trying to get rid of it.
Oh, no.
Watch.
Sucks.
Ready?
Neutral. Oh, no.
Watch.
Sucks.
Ready?
Neutral.
Here. Ready? Whoop. He moves forward.
Oh, so the character is still in RC Anim, and he's actually running forward. That's really weird looking. So look at this, takes the armor hit, RCs it, is now like, the character is now lunging forward. And you can get even more, wow, okay, yeah, that's weird. That's super weird. Yeah, that's some like JoJo shit, right? Huh. That almost reminds me of Max Mode, yeah, almost. Like it's automatically like running the character forward. Well, the difference is that Max Mode doesn't like stop time, right? Max Mode just rushes the character forward. This is like Max Mode and an RC put together. So now you're like, the game is just fuck you, you're going forward. We're gonna push your ass forward because obviously in KOF 2002 that shit's very hard. The shit's very hard. We're just gonna make the player automatically do it. So it's like a Max Mode RC. That'll lead to some weird shit. Yeah. So you're just buffering in. You're just buffering in forward after the RC. Okay. That could be a bug. It could be. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. But it seems interesting, right? Anyway, I like it. I actually like it. I hope whatever that is, I hope that stays.
ハードすらもキャンセルし始めたと思う。
はい。まあそれに従いましてデッドアングルアタックっていうガード中に相手を切り返すというものがなくなってですね。
So if someone tries to RC, you can RC back and keep pressure. Bitch, you slowed down time on me, I'm gonna slow down time on you, motherfucker. And you could like, what if Saul is sitting there and he like puts Gunflame down and he's RCing Gunflame in neutral, but then you identify it, you smack RC yourself, Time has stopped. The gun flame hasn't actually come out all the way. You're running through fire and shit, and you grab their ass. That could be kind of dope. That could be pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. I think that's badass. I think that, and then the guy can RC his RC? I don't know. You just keep doing it until you're out of fucking meter? I don't know, I kind of love that. I'm just thinking of like, that's the kind of decision making that I think is very Guilty Gear, right? I hope so. I hope that's the case. I hope that's the case, man. That sounds like fun.
まあこういったガード中もロマンキャンセル L1 ボタンを押す感じですね。はい、
ガードすらもロマンキャンセル。
はい、ガードロマンキャンセル。でこれをやるとじゃあちょっと固めてもらってでこれでラリアののけぞりになります。はい。って感じです。ちなみにこののけぞり中はガードだけ可能という感じになっているので。
I think they're still showing up the dead angle stuff. Yeah, that'll be something to definitely test out at Arc Revo. RC and RC and RC? Fuck. So burst is still like the same exact mechanic. I was really hoping they were gonna add like a counter burst, man. Like, how... I'm just gonna throw this out there. Burst baiting is one of the coolest things in Guilty Gear, in my opinion. Like, knowing when someone's gonna burst and then punishing them on the way down after they're bursting. I think that's awesome. I love the fact that you knew exactly when this bitch was gonna do the thing, and now you should get rewarded for that. I think there should literally be a situation where you could spend a portion of your own burst gauge to counter burst. Where you can be like, I knew you were gonna do it, now give me like a big ass stagger state. Like a big ass damage bonus. Like, right? I think that'd be so cool if you can literally grab the fuck out of their burst. Oh, God. Yeah, and then you could blitz bursts in XR, but blitz is now gone, I'm pretty sure. Shit, man. All I'm saying is, it's very cool to watch, but it's not like super visually impressive. I'm just thinking it would be very cool if there was like a mechanic where you can spend a portion of your own burst to counter burst, right? To, like, well, I mean, yeah, of course it's like a counter breaker, but where you could actually, there would be like an animation, a big reward, some big fucking counter burst! Like, there is some giant text on screen, celebration, confetti flies out, there's fireworks, the announcer is losing his mind, like, something like that. I just wish there was a big celebration of a counter burst, you know? The Slam Master! I want that. That's what I want. I mean, we have it for counter. I'm saying, make it... Put it for something that is really special, like you countering somebody's burst. Please. The burst is still the same. Some moves have cinematic counter hits, so this is the big crazy thing we were saying. The counter! So it's like if you counter like a heavy attack with something, it just puts them into a big cinematic state. And it looks like you can get, yeah, obviously more combo opportunities or follow-ups or something. You're gonna be seeing that shit a lot in casual play. When you get people that are just hitting buttons against each other, that's gonna become frustrating. What the fuck? I mean, I kinda don't hate it. I kinda don't hate it, but when you're just gonna get two people jamming on each other and just mashing buttons and shit, that's gonna be happening all the time. All the time. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops. So here's an actual brand new mechanic in the game. Brand new is the way wall break / corner combos kind of work. If you wall break if you smack someone into the wall like a certain amount of times, the wall will actually crack. See that? And then they splat on the wall, and then you can push them over. The whole point of doing this big transition and resetting back to neutral is the fact that if the aggressor does it, you get a huge meter gain. But you don't get any damage. If we go back and look at what that final hit does, so the life bar is right there, and there's the break, right? He's in the wall, and the final hit's gonna take place right here. Let's see how much damage this does. It does very little. But the reward isn't the damage. The reward for how damaging things are, the reward is that you get enhanced meter gain. And it's not like a chunk of meter. It's more like a gradual progression of bar. Like you can see the, you can't see it now because Saul has full damn tension gauge. But you'll see it in a second for, damn it, now Kai has full tension gauge, you son of a bitch. You'll see it on characters that don't have full bar. So look, watch Chip's gauge over here. You see this little, like, progressive thing that's going up? Yeah, that's what it is. However, the argument is, is this just limiting corner combos, right? Like, there's, the question is, do you have a choice when you want that to happen? Or is it just automatically gonna happen after you smack someone into a corner too much, right? It's a little, it pretty much removes, like, the dust loop. Like, if Saul even has a dust loop in this game, if his, like, you know, move acts the same way that it does, it seems like it potentially could be a very big combo limiter. Because it's only on the 4th hit, yeah. So while at the same time the combos seem there's more opportunities in the corner, there's a controlled amount of opportunities in the corner. So I think my judgment on this one is still out there. I think it looks cool. I think it's a little jarring because it happens kind of fast, and they don't want to take you out of the game, so they reset the neutral really quick, and like, watch how fast this is. Going back up and you're in. Like, a little weird. It's a little weird. This nerf might be the highest level of combo play in the game. I mean, maybe. It's hard to say right now. I can't tell you. But maybe people will find ways to break it. Maybe people will find ways around it. But we'll find out. No chip kill. There's been a lot of conversations about the fact that you can't die to chip damage anymore. To me, this is another very weird decision. To be honest, I don't mind the fact that Street Fighter V and other fighting games now, you can't die via chip. I'm cool with that. I'm actually fine with it. I think it's kind of a neat idea that you have to use like meter or something to expel someone's life bar and you have to get that final hit. Sure, whatever. The problem here, the argument that I have is that the game already has systems in place to take damage or to take advantage of the fact that you might die to chip. And it's called faultless defense. That's the whole point of faultless defense, is that you spend your meter preventing someone from taking chip damage. And that's what faultless defense has done. So why, the game already has a system in place. Like MK11, yeah, MK11, the more hits you take, each hit takes off like a chunk of your bar. That's called like the last breath mechanic. This game already has that. So why would... It seems weird to have to add like another system. Yeah, because faultless defense is technically for risk management. I think risk is like... I need to get explained of that even more, of how that's working in this game, because it still seems odd, like which things are causing more risk, why the risk bar is this thing, why the risk gauge is like around the... It's very weird. It's very weird. For a game that seems to be emphasizing the risk gauge so much, like, why is it just this? That it's literally the blue bar around their character icons. What the hell's going on? So, yeah, temporary UI, hopefully. I don't think this is that big of an issue, but I mean, I think it's a very weird decision because the game already has systems in place to provide a solution. No Danger Time, this is obvious. Nobody fucking liked it. You know what I want to know? I want to know if there's going to be a big cinematic KO camera at low health. That's what I want to know. I want to know if the XR Rev 2 camera is coming, or is it, did it come in Rev? when you both kill each other at low health, or about to kill each other, the game will zoom in and like spin around to see who is going to get the final hit. And it's very Tekken-like. Actually, it might have come out before Tekken, to be honest, which is weird. No, it didn't, because Tekken came out in like 2015, something like that. It was a cool visual thing that took place. So we don't know if that's coming back. Danger Time is, you know, like in Samurai Showdown, the old games, the new game, when you hit each other at the exact same time, and you have to like mash buttons to get the advantage. In this one, you hit each other at the same time, and the game puts everyone into a hyper slowed down sort of RC state where everything does fucking crazy damage. The game goes 3, 2, 1, and everyone's put into like insane counter states, and whoever lands the first hit wins. And it's like a random thing that happens. And I don't even think it happens all the time if you collide on the same, right? It's a very weird, super mortal count, yeah, like, right? It was a very weird mechanic. And it just leads to a lot of like panic and mashing, and suddenly just because this thing activated, you're super fucked. It's the equivalent of like an annoying trip in Brawl. It's just like, oh god, oh shit, what the fuck do I do? But there were things you can get out of it. Yeah, there was, you could obviously like FD and shit. I don't know. I haven't been stuck in Danger Time enough to be a pro at it. It's just that when you see someone get fucking Danger Timed, they're usually pretty pissed off. Wake up timing is the same for all characters. Obviously something that I never played the game enough to really even realize that, man, everyone has different wake up timing. If they're on their face, if they're on their back, like different wake up timings for like everything. And that seems like an absolute thing that they could simplify for this game. That's a simplification that no one would have been pissed off about. Is if they universalized the wake up timing for everyone would be happy with that. So they did. This is good. This is one of those things that's up there with RC that is like, oh, yeah, you probably could have toned down RC and simplified that mechanic, but do it in a smart way that still gives you the options. Right? This seems like a very good decision. This is fine. The nice thing about Guilty Gear 2020 is that it's taking off the basis of Guilty Gear Xrd. It seems like it has less stuff than Xrd, which it does. It adds very few new mechanics. However, there's so much shit you can do in Xrd, in Xrd Rev 2, whatever, the latest version. There's so many mechanics and so many things that make that game nuanced that even if you cut that shit in half, you're still getting a fighting game that is going to be way crazier than the majority of fighting games out there. There will be still so much freedom to do stuff with the way the RC system works, with the way the mobility of every character. There is still plenty in the game to make for a crazy-ass fighting game. So, I think the verdict is still out whether or not this is going to be the game to piss everybody off.